Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today we're going to be talking about how we influenced a publisher to bring one of my favorite translations into print in a premium Bible for the very first time ever, and I am so excited about it. As you all know, I've read through the BSB and I really enjoyed the translation. I've always wondered if it was ever going to get any prime time real estate and get some premium action. And while the fine folks at Bible Hub do have a couple of nice editions out, they actually have some in genuine leather. They're no longer in print, but they do have an update. And y'all, I've got a little inside scoop here. I read a little something that told me that this update to the BSB is the permanent text. So I really hope that's true. I've got an interview with a couple of the guys up at Bible Hub with the BSB, one of the translators and the owner and publisher of the BSB himself, John Isett. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be interviewing them next week, and once I get that edited and cleaned up, I'll be getting you all kinds of new information on the BSB. But without any further ado, you all already know that the BSB Maker from Humble Lamb is going to be coming out at some point next year, and I am so excited about this. But what excites me more than anything, as you all know, I go out to Liberty, Kentucky about once a year to interview with Daniel, because that's about how often he releases a new Bible. And he had been asking me some questions about upcoming translations and some ideas that I had about different translations and which ones I would like to see come to print. And I mentioned a few, but there was one that I really pushed, and I was like, Daniel, you need to try this one. And I said, you need to do the BSB, because the BSB is a translation that is begging to be amazing. He seemed pretty intrigued by it. A few months later, I go back to Humble Lamb to interview with Daniel, and then he tells me, hey, I considered what you said, and I'm actually going to bring the BSB to print. And he said something to this effect. He said, for the last year or so, people have been asking for a print edition of the BSB in premium from Humble Lamb. And he said, and when Tim Nichols, who, me? And he said, when you told me about the translation, that's really when it started gaining some serious momentum. And that's when I decided to go ahead and go through with it. So folks, we did it. We convinced a publisher to put a translation into print, and that's exciting. So what that lets you know is that our voices can be heard. One advantage we have with Humble Lamb is they don't need to print 50,000 Bibles like some of these larger publishers, because they have a little bit of a smaller outfit. And when the publisher is smaller, it's a little bit easier to move the hand. So yes, you all, coming out at some point next year, we're going to have the BSB Maker. Now, I don't know a whole lot of details about the layout or what it's going to be like, but one thing we know, it is going to be absolutely epic. Let's take a quick look at what Humble Lamb has released so far. First of all, we have the NKJV Shepherd, which was the first edition they ever released. This has a really nice single column layout. It currently has two different 4-edge options. Of course, it used to have the original 4-edge option, and it used to have the color art gilding. Now, they have discontinued that, but maybe, since we've got a whole new translation, maybe you can bring the colored art gilding back as well. Coming in next is the KJV Lion. Now, they have the original 4-edge with the lion in the mane, and then they have the second 4-edge with the lion crushing the serpent's forehead. And of course, this is a beautiful layout also with simple drop caps, a really nice large 11-point Milo font, just everything you really like in a King James version of the Bible. Also, this is the only Humble Lamb Bible that is in a verse-by-verse format. All the others are in paragraph. Then came the NASB 2020 History Bible, or also known as the His Story Bible. There are two 4-edge gilding options in that, one of them with the scene of the whole history of the Bible, and then the one of them with the slightly Caucasian looking Jesus with some other historic scenes. I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but these are some beautiful editions, and I love how they go for broke on these art gilding patterns. Pretty amazing. And then last but most certainly not least is the NLT Sunrise, and it has the beautiful 4-edge option with the resurrection scene with Jesus busting out of the grave and the soldiers going back going, what's going on here? And just amazing how every Bible tells its own story. Of course, this has a beautiful single column layout. And what really sets the history and the sunrise apart is the ornate and beautiful drop caps. Each of them tell a story in and of themselves. The His Story is laid out in story format, and then this one's laid out in a beautiful, reader-friendly, single column format. It's a full size, while the History is a little bit more of a compactish mid-size Bible. I don't know what the BSB Maker is going to look like, but all I know is that I'm super excited. Here's what we do know. It's probably going to have amazing drop caps. It's probably going to be a nice, large, readable font. And I would say it's definitely going to have the Dore art, and it's also going to have the words of Christ in blue, because that is Humble Lamb's trademark. It's going to have lots of different colors. It's going to have beautiful leather, and it's going to be well thought out and well crafted. And you all, I don't know what the next translation is, but there is another translation that's coming up from Humble Lamb. They are doing some work. Daniel's doing some amazing stuff. As you know, I love me some Humble Lamb and the innovation that they bring to the table. I can't wait to see the BSB Maker. What translation would you like to see Humble Lamb come out with next? God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nichols Worth.